Emma kept hearing footsteps above her bedroom. The estate agent insisted the house had no attic. Emma Reed moved into the house in late October because it was the only place she could afford after the divorce. It stood at the end of a quiet suburban cul-de-sac and had recently been renovated for resale. Fresh paint covered every wall. New recessed lights had been installed in the ceilings. The listing called it compact but efficient, with no wasted space and no attic access to worry about. Emma liked that part. Less storage meant fewer places for damp, rats, or electrical faults to hide. The first sound came on her second night there. Just after 2 in the morning, 3 slow footsteps crossed the ceiling above her bed and stopped directly over her pillow. She sat upright, listened, and heard nothing else. In the morning, she climbed onto a chair in the hallway and checked the ceiling hatch the estate agent had shown her during the viewing. It led only to wiring and insulation above the bathroom, not over the bedrooms. The joists beyond it were too narrow for anyone to move through. She told herself the sound had been the pipes cooling down. Then food began to disappear. A yogurt cup she packed for her son's school lunch was gone before sunrise. Bread crusts appeared in the sink when nobody had eaten toast. The heating switched itself on after midnight even when the thermostat had been turned all the way down. None of it looked impossible in isolation. A tired parent could miss things. A child could snack at night and lie about it. A thermostat could fail. The problem was that every ordinary explanation worked only once. Her son Noah made the first detail impossible to dismiss. At breakfast, he asked whether the thin man in the vent was allowed to stay another night. Emma assumed he meant a nightmare and told him there was no man in the house. Noah shook his head and said the man whispered through the slats above his bed and told him not to mention the second space. He said it with the flat certainty children use when they are describing something they think adults must already know. Emma removed the vent cover that afternoon. Behind it was a dead cavity between 2 walls, dusty and shallow, with no room for a person. She took a photo anyway, partly to reassure herself, and partly because she had started noticing how often reassurance now required proof. That night she placed strips of masking tape across Noah's vent and across the hallway hatch. By morning the tape over the vent remained unbroken. The tape over the hatch remained unbroken too. But crumbs were scattered across the kitchen counter, and muddy insulation dust marked the top shelf of the pantry. She called the estate agent, who sent over a contractor with the building plans. The plans showed a sealed crawl space above the bedrooms, created when the original owners lowered the ceilings during an extension 30 years earlier. According to the paperwork, the crawl space had no legal access point and no usable floor. According to the contractor, nobody could live there without falling through the plasterboard. He laughed when he said it, then stopped laughing after Emma showed him the dust and the missing food logs she had started keeping on her phone. That night, she borrowed a baby monitor camera from her sister and aimed it at Noah's ceiling vent. At 2:13 a.m., the audio picked up 3 soft footsteps and a dry rustling overhead, like someone dragging a sleeve through fiberglass. The camera glitched for 4 seconds. When the image returned, a pale eye was visible between the vent slats. Emma ran into Noah's room immediately. The vent was closed. Noah was asleep. The monitor recording showed the eye for exactly 1 frame before dissolving into static. Police came the next morning. They inspected the roofline, checked the crawl space entry above the bathroom, and forced open a panel in the linen closet that had been painted shut. Beyond it, they found a narrow channel running above every bedroom. There were blankets in one section, empty food tins in another, and dozens of printed photographs of Emma and Noah sleeping. Some were taken through the slats of Noah's vent. Others were taken from directly above Emma's bed. Officers swept the entire cavity and found nobody. That should have ended the story with a practical explanation. An intruder had been hiding in the house and had escaped before the search reached him. Emma wanted that explanation because it was horrifying in a way the law could still handle. But after the police left, a folded note appeared on the kitchen table where one of the officers had been standing minutes earlier. It said, in block capitals, "You forgot the second space." The phrase changed everything. It meant the intruder had either remained inside the house during the search or had returned without crossing a door, window, or alarm. Emma stopped trying to calm herself and began documenting everything instead. She photographed every room before bed. She put flour in front of each threshold. She checked timestamps against the monitor recording. The pattern that emerged was worse than random haunting and worse than simple trespassing. Whatever was above the ceiling responded to attention. Every time she tightened the routine, the activity became more specific. Her next discovery came from the wardrobe in her bedroom. One back panel sounded hollow, Behind it was a false wall, held in place by cabinet magnets, and fresh nails painted to match the timber. Behind the wall was a ladder cut directly into the studs. It rose into the crawlspace the police believed they had already cleared. Emma climbed only far enough to shine a torch upward. She saw peepholes drilled down into the bedrooms, a microphone taped beside an electrical line, and a child-height tunnel branching toward the neighboring house. There was a human explanation now, and it was monstrous enough. Someone had built a surveillance route through 2 homes, and had lived inside it long enough to learn their routines. Emma called the police again and waited outside with Noah in the car. Officers entered from below while another unit circled the roof. They found a gaunt man wedged inside the insulation, near the far end of the channel, filthy, dehydrated, and too weak to resist. He wept when they dragged him into daylight. At the station he told them he was not the one they should fear. He admitted to stealing food, taking photographs, and hiding in the house for weeks, but he insisted he had been staying quiet, because there was someone above him too. He said the crawl space was not a crawl space but a layer between houses, and that one more level appeared every time someone believed they had found the top. When detectives asked how a second person could live above a sealed roof, he only repeated that he heard footsteps over his head after Emma moved in. The same way Emma heard them over hers. The official version called him delusional. He was charged with breaking and entering, unlawful surveillance, and child endangerment. Contractors sealed the cavity. Emma and Noah spent 2 nights at her sister's apartment, and then returned to collect clothes before moving out for good. That silence disturbed Emma more than any noise had. It felt less like relief than a pause designed to make her lower her guard. The final proof arrived after midnight in the apartment they had rented across town. Noah woke her and pointed at his baby monitor, which Emma had plugged in out of habit rather than reason. The live feed did not show his room. It showed a room above it. Same vent, same bed position, same angle from the ceiling corner. Another family slept there beneath a faint blue nightlight. Then 3 careful footsteps crossed the unseen floor above them. By the time she opened her phone camera, the feed showed only Noah asleep in his real room. She checked the apartment plans the next day and found there was no unit above theirs, only the flat roof. The landlord confirmed that. So did the fire inspector. Both men spoke with the confidence of people who expected paperwork to end the matter. Emma kept the old house note, the monitor clip, and the police inventory photographs. Each piece of evidence proved part of the story and undermined another part. The intruder was real. The access route was real. The hidden microphones were real. None of that explained the final feed or the footsteps that resumed where no ceiling existed. That is what leaves the account unsettled. A man was living in the attic. He was only the first thing they found there.